Welcome to Like a Mom. This is a podcast where we prove that you don't have to choose between rocking it at home and building a thriving business. You actually get to do both. We're here to ditch the stereotypes, crush those limiting beliefs, and show you how the skills that you use every day that make you a great mom are actually the same ones that make you an incredible business owner. Let's dive into empowering conversations, practical tips, and plenty of inspiration and support to help you thrive in every part of your life. Because, like a mom, you're already unstoppable. Let's do this. Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Like a Mom podcast. Today we're going to be talking about something that honestly, I think it affects every single one of us. And to be completely honest, I kind of thought I'm not too bad at that. I don't really necessarily have that problem. But last night, well, I guess it was really this morning, I recognized and realized, wait a minute, I do have this problem. It just kind of shows up differently than the average, way that it shows up for other people. And that is complacency. Just kind of like that stuck in a rut, like mindset, mentality, thinking of, oh, well, it's always been this way. It is what it is. It just has been, and it'll always be, like kind of that trap that we can get stuck in thinking. For me personally, I don't necessarily sit around and think it is what it is, it's just always been this way. I've dealt with this for, years and years and years. It just, that way of thinking, that's not necessarily the way that I get stuck here. But a lot of times, and, throughout my life, I recognize that in other people that I'm talking to. And so I thought I was doing good because my brain and my mouth don't say those words. And so to me, I was like, I don't really get stuck with complacency like them. That's not how it shows up. And my whole theory every time I hear that is, no, that's not actually true. It can change. Nothing stays the same. That is the guarantee of life, is that nothing is going to stay the same. Change is the constant. And there's so many of us that don't necessarily like change. It doesn't feel comfortable for things to be constantly changing. Sometimes we want that peace of mind knowing that we have this idea of some sort of control in understanding what is going to be happening, what is going to be coming, what our day-to-day is looking like. That consistency allows us to get a little bit of control. And in reality, we don't have any control at all. And so change makes us realize that we don't have control. And a lot of times we can want to resist that. We can want to resist the change. And it happens before we even know it. Or we'll be just saying things well, it is what it is. It's always been this way, so it's always going to be. But I think that for me in particular, I didn't even recognize that I was having these complacency mindset thoughts in my mind because I wasn't saying those things. I know throughout my life, change hasn't necessarily been something that I enjoyed. When I was younger, my mom used to always say, no, you didn't do well with change. So we had to kind of walk you through and get you warmed up to the idea of what was going to happen, what the day might look like, so that you would get comfortable with that because you just don't like change. And as I, got older, I can't say that I love change, but every year that passes, I become more and more okay with change opposed to how I was when I was younger. And so I think a lot of us who are, we're busy, we're moms and we're growing our home and our business, and that can be kind of chaotic, and that can be kind of there's always, something going on, and there's always some expected. And before we know it, I think we can get kind of stuck in these complacency thought patterns that we did not know were actually there. let's just kind of talk about a couple of the ways that you can identify if you even do this, because let's be honest, I wasn't able to identify that I even did this. I thought I was free and clear from this, and I wasn't. And so, like, what do they say? The first step is admittance, right? So the first step for me was realizing, oh, wait a minute, I do have this mindset thing going on in there that is that complacency thing. I am not actually free and clear from this. So a couple of ways that like you can recognize if you have this complacent mindset thought pattern is if you catch yourself thinking or saying, the things like, this is just how it is. I can't imagine it being different. This is how it's been for years. This is just the cards that were dealt. Like, that is a telltale sign that your mindset pattern is stuck in that complacency pattern, that way of thinking, that mindset. Another way, and honestly, this is where it hit me. I was struggling. You avoid dreaming about, or you just can't even really access the future because it feels so far out of reach. So you might think like, oh, that would be fun. Oh, that would be nice. Oh, I would really like it if, but how in the world would I ever get there from here? Like, oh, that is like going to take me so long to even get to that. Like, that's not even really realistic, And so you kind of like can't, or you don't, or you won't allow yourself to even view the future or the things that could happen because they just seem too far out of reach or just too unrealistic. Another way is you can feel just stuck and frustrated in like the areas of your life, your business, your whatever, and you're just getting up every day, just living Groundhog Day, and you don't expect anything new to happen, or if you do expect something new to happen, you probably are expecting more of a negative thing to happen. But every day just seems to be like repeat, and your mindset is just in that routine, repeat patterning of, get up, get dressed, get the kids dressed, like do this, do that, just like staying real stuck on this consistent schedule, and nothing really ever deviates from that. Nothing ever changes, and your mind doesn't even entertain the idea that tomorrow could be different, like things could look different, like something different could happen, something new could happen. You're just really kind of stuck like that Groundhog movie every day. It's just kind of the same thing over and over and over. So those are kind of the 3 good telltale signs that you are stuck with this complacent thought pattern. And for me, like I said, mine, I realized, was that future part. I was having a conversation yesterday. We were talking about like the inner child and what would your inner child, which is the part of you that was prior to being 7, that was free, that was creative, that had fun, that just did things without any rules or expectations or responsibilities or requirements, all the pressure, all the perfection, all of that. Like, what would your inner child, the prior to 7 years old child that you were at one time, that is inside of you today, what would they say? Oh, that would be fun. Like, fill in the blank. Ask yourself, ask your inner child right now. It would be really fun if, and then fill the blank in. So for me, my answer to that was, actually, I can just read it to you because I wrote it down in my notes on my phone because I thought it was, something I needed to cling to. So my answer was, wouldn't it be fun if we were homesteading and gardening and having a farm and outdoors and homeschooling and just kind of living that like natural kind of hippie style kind of life? I am a big proponent for like the essential oils and the natural remedies and, the eating food that's grown rather than all this processed meat. Like I bake my sourdough bread. Like, I really love all of that stuff. And so like my answer was that. And then immediately after I answered that, and I wrote it down and everything, After I answered that, my thought process was, oh my gosh, my life is actually totally different than that. How in the world would I ever get from here to there? Because it seemed like such a far stretch of where I am today and what I do today to getting to that like farm, homestead, like lifestyle, like that I really would want. That would be really fun, you know? And so when I thought that, I was like, ugh. I felt kind of discouraged, and I felt kind of just like, it's really not going to happen quickly. I'm so far away. This is going to be like a long process just to even get to that point. And then I went on about my business, and I was thinking about it. Like, I was talking to my mom, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, I think I was born in the wrong family, because none of my family is that homesteady hippie like type whatever. I mean, my mom values fruits and vegetables, but she's not gonna have her hands in any dirt. She's not gonna be grounding. She'll go to the farmer's market and buy it. And so like I was just kind of thinking about like my family and my childhood and how I grew up and how I answered this as my inner child, and it seems so vastly different than the life that I lived or the life that I'm living. And it seemed so far off. And I was telling my mom this, and she was just kind of like laughing about it. And she was like, yeah, I don't really know where that came from. And so, that's where it was. And then this morning I woke up and I was doing my gratitude. I'm really, really focusing on gratitude because we have had a lot of change in our life for the last 2 years, I guess, a year and a half. And we made the decision to make change. And then we lived that change for about a year, and it was awful. And none of us were happy, and none of us enjoyed it at all. There were so many shadow experiences that happened, and so many things that just came up. And we decided no, we have to change again because this change is not working. Now we're in the process of changing all of the change that we had done. And so right now, I can look back and I can feel like I was so much closer to where I wanted to be, or to that inner child that would think it was fun back before we started making the changes. So I'm really focusing on gratitude for everything that I do have and all the small changes that I am making and the things that I am growing, and just having grace and gratitude that's kind of where I'm at. And so this morning I woke up and I wasn't thinking anything about the conversation I had yesterday. And so I woke up this morning and I got up and I got dressed and I washed my face with my natural soap that is full of essential oils. And then I went and I put essential oils on that are good for hormones, because honestly, I'm going into this season of what the heck is going on with my dang body. The whole hormone, everything is shifting and changing, and it's what is this? And so I put on some essential oils to help support my body as it goes through these shifts, and hopefully make it easier. And then, so I put those on, and then I walked into my kitchen and I looked at my kids who I homeschool, and I looked out the window. My kids were outside jumping on a trampoline, and I took my dog outside into the backyard, and I was standing outside. Behind our house is a whole field of all these trees, and there's nothing behind us. It's just a bunch of trees and like just natural life. And we have a ton of birds. We have cardinals that come. We have a bird feeder, and we have cardinals that come to our backyard every single morning. And like, we love the cardinals. They are like our little family wildlife pet. Like, we talk to the cardinals, we feed the cardinals, they're out in our backyard, like they watch us, like we watch them. It's literally like they're our pets. But that whole back area is full of a ton of birds. And we have rabbits that come into our yard, and we just have all this wildlife behind us. And so as I'm standing there with my animal that I took outside, I'm like looking at all this wildlife all around me, and all of this land behind me, and all of these trees. And then my kids are jumping on this trampoline, and they're laughing, and they're doing flips, and they're having fun. And then I go back inside, and I stir up my sourdough starter, and I was like, man, like, because you know I'm doing my gratitude thing. So I'm grateful for all of these things, as like I'm recognizing and I'm grateful for all of these things as they're coming. And so as I'm standing there stirring my sourdough starter, I was like, man, what a weird way of living. I'm doing my own business from home with all of this, like, you know, like just look at my morning. Like, look at how my morning just went, and everything that I was grateful for. Like, what a weird way of living if you think about the way that the vast majority of Americans are living their morning right now in this moment. And I was thinking about all these people that are like working a job, and they're sitting in a cubicle, or they're sitting in an office, or these kids that are sitting in a school building, or you know all of these different things that people are doing. And I was like, wow, like my life and my kids' life are really quite different than the most people. And then immediately I was like, why would I say that was a weird way of living? Like, that's exactly what you said you wanted last night. And then it literally hit me like a ton of bricks. Last night, I was sitting here saying, oh my gosh, my life is so different than what, you know, my inner child would think would be fun, what I would want to be doing or want to be having. And that feels so far away. And if you actually stop and look at my life, a lot of that weird hippie, homesteady, all of that is incorporated into my daily life. The only thing that is still out in escrow, that is working its way to me, is the land with all of the animals and all of the gardening boxes. I have so much, and I am actually so close to what I was saying last night I was so far from. And then I was like really thinking about why in the world why did I perceive that as so far away and nowhere close to where I am? And so I was thinking about it, and that's when I realized, that's just a total like complacency way of thinking. Like, what I was saying last night is actually no different than if I had just said the words out of my mouth, well, this is just how it is. It's just how it's going to be. It's just what I have to deal with. It's just the cards that were dealt to me. It is what it is. I just gotta do this. I just gotta, do what's responsible. All of those like things and thought patterns and words I was doing, but just in a different way. It was a little more hidden rather than like vivid. And so it just struck me how that is so my mind was telling me something that was so opposite of the actual truth, and I didn't even realize that thought was even up in my mind. Like, I didn't realize that I was even struggling with these complacency mind processes, like thought patterns. And so I feel like it was something that I just really needed to share, because can you imagine how many times and how many places in our life, like, we think we're doing good, that we think that we're on, we're just like, oh, that doesn't apply to us. But really, in reality, we're just not recognizing that it does. And I mean, it happens to all of us. We literally do this all day because our minds are like a program that are just going to keep throwing up on repeat. It's like an old tape or a CD. Like, it's just going to keep playing the same tracks until we change the tracks. And if you don't even recognize that song is playing again, then like you just don't recognize it anymore. And so, like, how many places in our life and in our business are we settling for just good enough, just normal, and not recognizing that we've slipped into this pattern of thinking of complacency and not necessarily believing in possibilities? And the scary thing is like, if we are in this place of complacency and we've lost our view of possibilities and opportunities and newness and change, then we're going to miss it if it comes. We're not going to see it. And so when things in our life feel stagnant, we have to remember that it's actually shifting in ways that we can't see, because everything is energy, and energy is always moving. The seasons are always changing. The people are always growing. Opportunities are always arising. Possibilities are always around. So the trick is learning to just trust that there is change in the making, that there are opportunities, that Hippie Homestead is actually closer. When that thought in your mind comes up of, oh, that seems so far away, or that seems so not a possibility or unrealistic, or it just is what it is. When that thought comes up, we have to just raise the flag. Like just go ahead and imprint that now with a red flag, so that next time you think that, or the next time that you find yourself saying that, you can stop and be like, that's kind of interesting. Is it really? That's not actually reality because blah, 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 blah. Or, is there actually possibilities I could be missing? We have to, one, recognize that we have these complacency way of thinking, these mindset things, because a lot of times we're wanting something, but our mind and our way of thinking is actually stuck back here on a totally different track. And so to get what that is that we're wanting is, of course, going to be harder, because our mind is telling us a totally different story than what reality could actually be. So, one, identify, recognize your stuck thoughts. Recognize when and where you're saying. Identify where those complacent areas of your life are. And if you need to write it down, write it down. I have it in the notes on my phone. Call out where it is that you're finding that you're stuck, that you're just like, oh, it just is what it is. This is just what I have to do for right now. Sometimes in my business, I have literally been in this place of, I just have to do this. Like, okay, social media. I don't really enjoy posting on social media all the time. And back in the day, you had to do it like 3 times a day to get the algorithm. And so it was just like, it became like autopilot to that's just what I did. Like, that's just what I had to do. That's just what my daily task was. It wasn't like I was doing it from a place of joy or happiness or ease or fun or any of it. I was just trying to check off the boxes. And when I was sitting there doing that, I was just scheduling these posts and checking off this box of social media. What I was missing was the possibility and the opportunities of Pinterest or YouTube or email marketing. I couldn't even see those opportunities for growth or for ease in growing my business because I was so stuck on just repeating Groundhog Day of making social media posts for my business 3 times a day because that's what the algorithm is and that's just what I'm supposed to be doing. So one, we have to recognize where these thought patterns of complacency are. Like, where are these places of complacency in our life? And then after you can recognize where the complacency even is or where you're saying that in your life, stop and ask yourself, is this actually true? Look for the evidence in your life when things changed. Guess what? It's going to be everywhere because the only thing guaranteed is change. Things are always changing. Life is always changing. So challenge the thought of this is just the way it is. This is just the way I have to do it. And really investigate and look at it from a perspective of this is interesting. Is this actually reality? If when I had that thought of, oh my gosh, that is so far off, like it would take me forever to get where I am now to over there. If I had stopped and challenged that thought immediately last night, I would have recognized I actually am so much closer. It's not that it's actually so far away. It's actually that, oh my gosh, it's so close and I didn't even see it. But I didn't stop and challenge that thought. I didn't stop and analyze or, investigate, I guess. Not analyze, because if you're anything like my mom, like if you analyze, you're going to be there for years. Like, don't analyze. Just investigate, like that thought and think, is this true? Like, where are the possibilities? Where are the opportunities? Am I missing something? I could have missed this if I hadn't woke up this morning and had this revelation. I didn't stop last night. And so I could still be going on in my day today thinking that it is so far away. Oh, sign sealed, pack it away. It isn't happening. X that off the list. I don't have time, energy, or effort or years to spare to get all the way over there. I could be living my life like that today instead of realizing how close it actually was. And I can't imagine if I just kept living my life not realizing how close it was and, Xing it off the list and, oh, it's so far away. It's going to stay so far away. It's never going to actually get closer because I never even realize or recognize how close it is. And so thank goodness for my current quest of gratitude because that was actually what changed my recognition this morning. And so after you challenge the thought, practice gratitude. Practice gratitude for the present, for what you have and the things that you have and the dreams that you have. And spend your day just letting yourself think about it. Don't let the thought of, oh my gosh, that's so far away. How am I ever going to get there? Like, that's going to take me years. Don't let that be your dominant thought. Just take that one and just kind of like shove it off and put it in the garbage can. Don't let that one be your dominant thought. Instead, replace it with visualizing, the dream of whatever it is. Let yourself go to the future, because when you can't let yourself go to the future, or you can't dream or even think about what it is that you would want, you can't even come up with anything that you want in the future, then you're essentially no different than saying, it is what it is. I'm just going to live this life on Groundhog Day, repeat. So let yourself dream about the future. Let yourself get excited about the future. Let yourself have these ideas and these possibilities and these daydreams and these vision boards. Go to the future, because that's a sure way that you're going to get yourself unstuck from this complacent pattern of it just is what it is. And then remind yourself everything is always changing. Everything is energy and everything is always changing. And so we don't actually have to have it stay the same. We actually don't have to have control. We actually just need to know that it's changing and it's different and it's going to be different. And we can just get excited about that. And we don't have to know when, and we don't have to know how, and we don't have to know why. We can just get excited and let it be, however it is, and trust the process that it's going to come to you when and how and with ease. We don't have to have control. We can let go of control. And then, of course, always surround yourself with growth-minded people, if you're on social media, make your feed look like positive, encouraging, growth-minded things, because we have to have that reminder, enact those actions and those practices every day so that we don't get stuck in the complacency and not realize it like I was doing. I had no idea that I was stuck in this complacency pattern simply because I wasn't saying these specific words that I tied to complacency. So I think this is a valuable lesson for us to remember. We have to be really conscious of picking out the places where we are limiting ourselves, even if we don't realize it or recognize it. And if we are open to just kind of investigating our thoughts, then I think we will find that that CD that just keeps repeating is not really a good CD. We don't really want to listen to this music anymore. And so we have the complete power to open the lid and take the CD out. And how about we just switch over to Spotify and not even use the CD, right? We could just have a playlist of all kinds of things that we actually like. We don't even have to use a CD. Not that I don't even think you can use a CD anymore these days, but you get what I mean, right? Anyway, if we can do this in our life and we can start pinpointing this out and we can start enacting this practice in our life, we're going to teach our kids. And when we start teaching our kids this now, when they're younger, can you imagine the things that they could accomplish, the transformations in their life that they could have? I mean, I can't imagine how different our life could look next year if we just went in and just really got rid of all that limited thinking, that complacency thinking. And so I encourage you today to stop and take a minute and try to identify places in your mindset and in your life where you kind of are struggling with this complacency factor, this limited mindset of not really embracing the possibility and the growth that's out there. Let's just really look and dive into it and then really challenge it and then really get the growth and the thriving life and business and home that we're actually wanting. I think this is like a huge tool to help us get to having that balanced, thriving home and that thriving business that we all want. Go get that transformation. Go get those dreams. Go live that life. Now is your time to thrive in your home and your business. Thanks for hanging out with me on the Like a Mom podcast. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mom who's ready to thrive in life and business. Remember, you've got everything you need to succeed already inside of you. Keep going, keep believing, and know that you're doing amazing. Remember, being a mom isn't a limitation. It's your ultimate advantage. Until next time, keep thriving and shining like a mom.